What's up, guys? Tom Davis here, America's Canine Educator. I'm here at the Upstate Canine Academy today, and we filmed a couple different things this week. One of the biggest questions I get as a dog person or a dog educator is, my dog won't recall, my dog won't come back, my dog won't come when called, etc. This video is for you if you've ever asked that question or thought that in your own head. I hope you guys enjoy this quick, informative video on recall and my opinion on recall, how to do it, why to do it. Recall is one of those things that you can never half-ass. You have to do it 100%. You have to do it right. You have to be for certain your dog will come back to you. And this is my 2 cents on why your dog won't recall to you and how to change that in the future.
Gracie, come.
Okay.
You just made a lighter out of me.
Yeah, that's okay. So here's what I'm not my job, I guess, is to really figure out why things aren't happening. I'm a big problem solver, which is actually 90% of dog owners' issues are problems, not everything's great about my dog, I want to teach him this new thing. That's where trainers come in. That's where the dog trainers come in, is they come in and say, oh, your dog's perfect, but you want to teach him how to jump on a chair? Okay, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
So I'm a problem solver. Face that way and tell her to come.
Face this way.
Yeah.
Huh. Gracie, come. Gracie, come. Good girl.
Good.
Good girl.
Good.
Oh.
Good. So that's good. So now let's do this. Let's just ignore for a second. Let her just drop the leash for a second. Yep, and then just kind of walk away. Let her do what she wants. Okay, that's good right there. And so here's what I'm starting to understand is a dog is only going to understand the information we give them, and they're only going to understand the training that we train for. Okay, so realistically, what's happening, it seems to me, is when she sets up for a recall, she'll do it.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But that's the training aspect of, hey, we're going to do this, and then after this, we're going to do that. And if you do that 100 times, she knows that if you put her in a sit or you walk directly away from her in a straight line, she knows that you're going to recall her, which tells me she knows the recall when you set her up.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you say sit, stay, and you walk away, she knows what's coming next is going to be a recall. And at some point in her life, she may have gotten a high reward food for it, or she's gotten a ton of love for it, or she's just practiced it in general, so she just knows how to do it. But say you don't put her into that situation, and all of a sudden, like right now, you said her name and told her to come, and you were in your house, she probably wouldn't do it.
No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So the missing component and the missing part within the dog's kind of parameter of understanding concepts of routines, what the missing part is doing the recall in reality.
Yes.
Because
and
that,
that's where I'm at.
exactly, and that's where you're going to get frustrated because she knows recall, so that's why you two are like this. She thinks, and I'm kind of like in the middle, like going, okay, you know this, and okay, you're doing this, okay. And the missing connection is she understands the concept of recall when you set her up properly, but she actually won't recall in reality because you've never practiced it that way, right?
Well,
And
you would think enough times I've asked her to come.
But, exactly, but my point is this, let me break it down to you this way, is that if you had a dog in a heel, right, and you stopped and put the dog into a sit, every time you stopped, right on your left side like you always would,
Yeah.
right, heel, sit, heel, sit, heel, sit, and then all of a sudden she's off leash and you go, Gracie, sit, she's going to go, what? But I'm not here, she's going to go,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna come in and go, she doesn't know sit, because she does. You're just asking a bit too much of her. And the biggest concept that's missing is you haven't practiced it that way yet.
Yeah.
So she's only gonna sit on your routinely based manner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times when you say sit and the dog's not next to you or whatever it is, that's why I stay away from food when you're conditioning behaviors on a micro level, because once they get used to doing the luring and they get used to saying, where's my food, where's my food, where's my food, and then you ask them to do it outside of that curriculum just a little bit, then they become really confused. Because you're like, wait a minute, I haven't practiced like this yet.
Yeah.
So I would say it's just your basic obedience needs to evolve into a little bit more advanced. And the only evolution there is just doing it in reality. So if your dog sits next to you in a perfect heel every time, but can't sit on command off leash, it's a break of obedience. The dog can't do it because you haven't practiced for it yet. So the dog doesn't not know it, and the dog isn't saying screw you. The dog is simply saying we haven't practiced that yet. I'm not to that. I haven't reached that point yet. That's where a lot of dog trainers become, or well, hand trainers, but handlers become very frustrated.
Yeah.
It's because they same thing as you said. She knows recall 100% of the time, but only if you set her up for that. Meaning if you say sit, stay, and walk away, she's going to call because she knows the next step after a sit, stay is you're going to call me. Or the next step after this is, right?
Yeah.
But if you just kind of stand over here and then say your name and then recall her, she might not come. But it's not her going, I don't want to. It's her simply saying, I've never done that before. And so anyway, I want to talk about the next step of maybe your dog, because that's the first step, which we'll do today. But in the future, I want you to understand a value system. We have value systems. Dogs have value systems. So you have to take into consideration that when the dog is literally off leash, they can pick and choose. It's like a kid in a candy store. Ooh, this. Because for us, when we're in one location, we're here or whatever, dogs are, what's this? What's that? Who are you? What's this smell? So they're constantly looking and they're constantly trying to figure things out. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. That when you recall your dog on this level, like if you worked for a year on competitive off-leash obedience, it would be an entirely different story. However, when we're working with just pet Gracie that we want to recall, we have to understand the value systems of the dog. Her values are everywhere. And so when she's off of this training mechanism, you're gonna say, hey, Gracie, do this. And she's gonna go, squirrel, you. Right? And you could have food, and you could have steak, and you could have chicken. But our responsibility as dog owners, having them off leash, is huge. Because not only could they get hurt, they could hurt somebody else. They can cause accidents. If your dog's aggressive, they could attack something. Or they could, sweet girl like Gracie could be running after another dog that's really nasty. And so there's a lot of things that can negatively go wrong if your dog's off leash and you can't get them back. Yeah. So I take off leash recalls very seriously. And so when people come in, they say, I want to work on recall, there's a lot of complexity for me that goes into it. Because I believe that having your dog recall off leash is a privilege. It's really something that everybody wants. I want my dog to listen and snap my finger off leash. All of my dogs do that because of the relationship. I haven't done much training with them. It's just the relationship is really great. And I'm like, hey, do this. They're like, okay, you always make the rules. This is what we're going to do. But I need to instill that into every dog owner, and I can't. If every dog owner had that, I wouldn't have a job. So I have to make sure that I am precise and I'm giving you the tools to do the best that you can, because that's what it's going to take. Is I can do some of this stuff without tools because I'm a professional. Other people cannot, so they need these little tools to help them fill that bridge. Yep. I wish it was all rainbows and butterflies and I just said, you just snap your fingers, click your heels, the dog's going to come.
I know that's not the
case. I wish it was, but
I know.
My job is to, and a much like a lot of the behavior stuff that I do, my job, I have to do it now. Like you came in here to fix it today. And so 6 months, I may be able to do it different ways. But when people come in here, especially with behavior cases that say this dog is 2 weeks away from being euthanized or whatever it may be, I have to fix it right now. So I have to use tools to expedite that process for the dog's sake. And a lot of people are saying, there's other ways to do it. I don't have that time, So that's what we're going to be doing with her, is we're just going to teach her the ways of using some tools to get her to do stuff, which is why, and even if you did train for 6 months, you have to understand that value system. So squirrel, even if you got that steak or something, she's still going to go, but there's a running squirrel. And then what she's going to do after is she's going to come back and then ask for that steak, and you may or may not give it to her. So the same pressure that we give a dog, Gracie, sit. Good sit. So that's a very basic command. It's in front of me, it's sloppy, it should be over here, but it doesn't matter, but she sat. So she understands the command and she's directly looking for love or attention, which she'll get. But you have to understand that if she did not sit, then we have to give her pressure, right? Like kids. You say, go to your room. They say, no. Okay, you have a really big choice to make here, mom or dad, right? You either say, absolutely not, you're going to go there, or your iPhone's going to be taken away, or you roll over and say, okay, fine. Because the next time you ask them, they're going to think about what just happened at that moment, right?
Consistent.
Exactly. Consistency, but also making sure that you have some sort of structure or discipline within those decision-making skills, because that's your job as a leader. Friends, you could be like, hey, don't do that, and they're like, yeah, whatever. That's friendship. You're not looking for friendship, you're looking for leadership, because that's what dogs need, right? So in order for her to be over there, completely off leash, and you say, Gracie, come, and her go, squirrel. You have to be able to reach out and touch the dog, right? You have to, because what else are you going to do? Because like you said, the only way she'll recall is if you go and grab her. But by the time you go and grab her, she's training you. You want me to come? You come get me, is what she's saying.
Okay.
And then you go all the way over and you grab her, and she goes, okay, I'll come now, because she knows she's in trouble. But she basically just trained you to go get her. So you have to understand leave it. The concepts of pressure, leave it.
No.
The concepts of pressure are very simple. She learned really well through pressure and structure and discipline through the micro prom collar. And now she's pretty obedient. She's great in the leash. She sits. She understands concepts. But the biggest problem you're having is how do I instill that discipline and that respect completely off leash, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as what we've done as technology as humans. This is your dial-up system, and the Ecollars that we use are your wireless system. You got Wi-Fi and you got dial-up. They both produce the same thing, but one of them's way quicker, and one of them doesn't require this attachment. Okay? And that's why like when you come in and say, I want my dog to recall off leash, we live in a 4-acre farm, and that's what I need to do. There's skunks, squirrels, badgers, whatever it may be. I need my dog to come back. And I say, okay, we can do that, but you're going to have to use some sort of tool to get their attention off leash. Because that's the other thing dogs will do is, we train all day on this. Well, how are we going to train when this comes off?
I could whistle.
You could whistle, but you have to understand value systems. So you could say, use food, use a high-pitched voice, be fun. All of those will work in a perfect world, in a perfect situation, but guess what? There's skunks, there's chipmunks, there's squirrels, there's deer. So value system, your whistle versus a squirrel. No way. Do you understand?
Yeah, I do.
And the same thing with the value systems on the bite collar that we have is if you decide to say, hey, sit, and she doesn't, and you give her a little pop, she's going to go, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's literally parenting. Go to your room. Nope. Give me your iPhone. Boom. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Next time you say go to your room, they're running
Yeah.
because they don't want you to take that iPhone.
Yeah.
It's discipline. It's positive and negative reactions. You're either taking something away, which is negative, or you're adding something to it, which is positive, like, hey, good job, good come. But it's a value system. So the question is now, and we come into this, okay, this all makes sense. How am I going to communicate to the dog off leash? E-collar. Simple. Yep. If it's something that you're serious about, my personal belief is that's the most responsible thing for you to do as a dog owner. If your dog is off leash and you can't communicate to them properly and be able to give them some sort of discipline off leash as well, because again, value systems, you versus the Roddy that's trying to kill me, but I'm going to go run over there anyway because I think it's going to be fun, you have to be able to be like, stop right now and come back. You're going to get killed. And if you don't, then your dog's going to get killed, or don't have your dog off leash. Those are your options, right? Because we don't live in that perfect world. And if we train for a perfect world, we're going to be really disappointed when we get out there. Do you know what I mean? So the e-collar allows us to be responsible and keep our dogs safe. And it's not a shocking tool, and it's not a painful thing by any means. All it is your prom collar at 1/2 mile. That's it. And if you told me, if I can create an invisible collar that would do the same correction or the same discipline as the prom collar does on a micro level, on a 4-foot base, but I turn that invisible and it goes, you would do it. Welcome to the e-collar. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things that I think a lot of people get extremely overwhelmed about because 5 to 10 years ago, we had shock collars.
Yeah.
5 to 10 years ago, we didn't have e-collars or any of these things. It's not any of those things. All the e-collar is the transfer of communication via wireless remote. Dial up, wireless, right? And that's what we're working with. We're being able to communicate to the dog on a very macro level instead of just here. Because you're going to say, well, my dog will listen to me right here because you have a piece of leather on him. But my dog won't listen to me out there.
Right.
Only because you haven't trained for it yet.
Yeah.
So if you use a tool that will allow you to do that, you'll be golden.
So eventually they not
Yeah.
use it.
Exactly. It's a conditioning thing. Like if you take her out on the leash and you say sit, you shouldn't have to correct her. Your job as a leader and as a dog owner isn't to correct the dog. It's to use the correction to teach them. Once they learn it and they're taught, you shouldn't have to do it ever again. It's the same transfer of communication via wireless remote. If you then teach them one time that you can touch them from here to the fence, they're going to go, oh, you can touch me from here to the fence. But the point is you've never been able to do that ever before, so why would they listen to you on any other level? Do you understand?
Can you use it indoors?
Indoors, outdoors, in the rain, in the pool, at the park, half a mile, quarter mile, mile, whatever you want. Yeah, anything. It's literally just a piece of equipment that you can go, like we use them in daycare, because it's going to take us forever to get to the other end of the thing to tell them, hey, stop mounting that dog,
Yeah.
or stop eating the poop. If I can take a little button and get that dog to stop eating another dog's poop, I'm going to do it. Boop. And for anybody who doesn't use e-collars, they're just missing out. The technology we have today for ourselves are advancing us far on before we ever thought we were going to have it. Why not use it to our dogs as well? The only problem is there's people using it and doing it wrong, and they're applying the application wrong. That chair is made to sit in, but if I took it and smacked you in the face with it, it's on me, not the chair. So the tool is getting blamed for people's ignorance. So we just have to be a little bit more educated on the equipment that we're using in order for it to be successful with the dog. Because then that's where a lot of people get really kind of distraught about, I don't want to use e-collars, because you don't know what they are. But as a human race, we either kill or we talk bad about things we don't know or we don't understand, right? It's the same thing with wolves. We're afraid of them, so kill them, right? So I think the e-collar would be that finishing, polishing tool that you'll need to just bridge that gap. Because she's great on here, but if I can get this on here to be a half a mile range, you'd be way happier. So would she, because she has more room to exercise and grow. And that way you can just say, Gracie, come, pop, and she'll come right back. Guaranteed, only if you do it right. Right. I never guarantee anything with dogs because it's up to you. I can do it, but I don't know if you can do it, because you've got to make sure that the systems are in place. But you'll notice a significant difference in the dog, because guess what? When she's on this, you're going to say she's great with this e-collar on, or she's great with the prong collar on. But the problem is with the e-collar, she'll never know when it's on or off. So she'll be great all the time. I can't tell you how many times people come in and they say, oh my gosh, she's a different dog with the prong collar on. Because she knows she's got discipline. She knows she's supposed to have structure. She knows that you're in charge.
Oh yeah, when that thing goes on.
Right. The same thing with the e-collar. You can literally put it on, drop the leash, and she's going to be the same dog with the e-collar on as she is with the 4-foot line, with the prong collar. It's all discipline. That's how we learn. Right? It's like that cop that's driving behind you. You're going to act real nice, because you know if you don't do anything wrong or you do anything right, you're going to get in trouble. Correct?
Yeah.
Once the cop's gone, what do? You act differently. Right? If we know that there's some sort of discipline that may happen or may not happen when we're doing something in an environment that's reality-like, the dog will then think twice about doing it. Right? I used to just get a 30-foot line out, get her out there. Gracie, come. She goes, me. If she doesn't, I give her a pop. She comes to me, I give her food.
Yeah.
That's in a perfect world. That's something that you can start. You have to understand that the realistic variables and the value systems in reality are squirrels, chipmunks, skunks, porcupines, whatever, cars. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna
like no garbage.
Yep. But if you go ahead, go grab her. Go grab her and see what she does.
Gracie.
So do you see that? Right? That's my point. Is she knows what she's doing is wrong, but she's not going to comply or even recognize that you're there until you physically grab that.
That's very true.
So you said, no garbage. She goes, yeah, screw you. She's still in the garbage.
Yes.
The moment you can reach out and touch her with an e-collar, she's going to go, right? So that's the disconnect humans have with owners, is they can't condition or discipline them without long lines and leashes. And that's where the e-collar comes in. And that was a perfect example. She said, I don't know what you're saying because you're not next to me. She still dug in the garbage. And then as soon as you got to her, she flinched because she knew, oops, sorry, I know that this is wrong.
No.
And that's where your relationship is getting very frustrating. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you guys like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this with as many people as you can. There's a little button up here somewhere that has a like the video, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.